Okay, we are live.
Good afternoon. This is Ike Leggett. I want to welcome all of you today to this first official meeting of the board of AIB with our newly created advisory board. I hope that everyone is on. We've given instructions so that you can put your names up and also indicate the county that you're from. This board is a very important board for our work. We've had an opportunity to meet some of you personally. I had the chance to meet some of you here at my home a couple of weeks ago. And hopefully, if I've not met you personally, we'll try to do so in the days and months ahead. We have a number of members of the board with us today, but hopefully people can see your names, the county, and what you would note is the broad breadth of people from throughout our great state. Demographically, we have, I think, 60+% of the members of the board are female. It's a great deal of racial and ethnic diversity as well. More importantly, though, we have a large diversity around the state as a whole, from every area of the state being represented. Let me take this opportunity for you to at least understand why this is so important. We need the eyes, ears, and your expertise. With the short time I had an opportunity to discuss with you a couple of weeks ago, I was just amazed at the depth, the breadth, the engagement that many of you had throughout our state, throughout many areas of public education, and really beyond that. I think our vice chair, Britt Curran, said it best when he said that he had a headache from the meeting because he was hearing so many different ideas that he couldn't absorb all of it in one setting. So that's a good problem to have. We've been engaged in a number of things over the last year or so, but more importantly, let me explain to you what happened as we started this process originally. We started somewhat late. There were some challenges with the organizational efforts, but through the hard work of Rachel Heiss and her staff, primarily Rachel at the beginning, I think we're probably up to much speed as we can handle at this point in time. She is actively engaged with her staff to hire additional people so that we could ultimately get to the number of 15 on our staff. But she has done a terrific job. Hats off to her for the great work that she had performed thus far. We're going to accomplish a number of things today. The first thing would be for us to recognize the areas and pillars that we're in. So Rachel, why don't you just briefly mention the pillars and the individual board members who are in the pillars and the board, AIB board members that will be working with them in that capacity.
Sure, absolutely. So welcome everyone. We're really so pleased to have you all on board and part of this really important process of developing the plans that are going to guide the implementation of the blueprint to successful implementation. So thanks to you all for being willing to serve. So with us today we have board member Mara Doss, and Dr. Doss will be each of the board members, other than the chair and the vice chair, are a pillar lead. So they are the lead board member for the work around each pillar. And so Dr. Doss is the lead for pillar 3 for college and career readiness. So she will be joining the pillar 3 committee, which right now we're holding sort of a joint meeting of all the committees with the board. And then at the conclusion of this meeting around 3:30, you will all break into your individual pillar advisory committee meetings. So then I'm just going in the order of my screen. Next, we have Jennifer Lynch, and Dr. Lynch is the pillar lead for pillar 1, early childhood education. Next, we have Dr. Stapleton, who is the, so each pillar has a lead and a secondary. And so Dr. Stapleton is the lead for pillar 5, which does not have an advisory committee, but she is also the secondary for pillar 2. High quality and diverse teachers and leaders. And then we also have with us today board member Fagan Harris. And Mr. Harris is the pillar lead for pillar 4, more resources for students to be successful. And then we are awaiting the arrival of Mr. Joe Manco, who is the pillar lead for, and I think he is just joining us, I hope. Mr. Manco is the pillar lead for pillar 2. And so, and then the vice chair, Dr. Kerwin, may be joining us shortly.
Okay, thank you. And I also want to acknowledge and thank Joe Manco for his hard work in working to make certain that he has helped us immensely in getting the advisory board started, and you may have seen him a great deal. But again, I want to acknowledge and thank Jill for your very hard work and the accomplishments so far. Although you heard a number of names called today of AIB members and others, and there will be some staff members who will see here and there, let me emphasize something that I think is very important. We want to hear from you. We are simply there involved in a secondary role to assist you in the work that we would hope that you would do, i.e. to be our experts, to be the ears, to give us the advice, and to give us some indication as to how we can improve the overall effectiveness of our work. It is not up to us to tell you what to do. We are to listen to you. So even though we may have some secondary role, I emphasize the role secondary, it is your role, your responsibility to advise us, and to the degree that we can be of assistance to you, we would encourage our board members to do that. But when you ask, hopefully we can respond as quickly as possible, either with the lead and or with the staff members. But essentially, we want you to do the work, and we would help you to facilitate that in our role as a secondary one. Secondly, as you know, I'm a very strong believer in transparency. So we want as much as possible consistent with the state laws, but even if you have to err on the side of being open, transparent, so that people can understand the work that you are doing, consistent with the laws that we have throughout the great state of Maryland. And more importantly, we want this to be informative. One of the things you may want to do is to get some additional information so that you can have a better understanding of the work that we've performed thus far. Any information that you need in terms of reading up or understanding some of the challenges ahead for us, I'm sure that Rachel and her staff will provide that for you. But in order to be a good expert, you have to be informed and to have some knowledge of what we're trying to accomplish in the time frames. With that, I think that I'm going to turn it over to Rachel and Joe to go through the purposes and protocol of the work that we hope that you'll be able to do. Again, thank you so very much for your willingness to take on this task. For those that have not had an opportunity to meet personally, I look forward to that opportunity. But again, we want to hear from you and how you can best assist us, and more importantly, to make this plan the best in the nation. Joe and Rachel.
That was perfect timing, Mr. Manco.
Hey, sorry about that.
So welcome. So next on the agenda is we wanted to go over, and we shared with everyone, and also it is posted on in the meeting materials, sort of a summary of the advisory committees and the purpose, the structure, and some of the roles and that kind of thing. So Mr. Manco, did you want to go ahead with that?
So I'm having some internet issues, so I don't have access to all of the meeting notes. So if you can maybe just start us off, and I'll kind of tag team and jump on.
Sure, absolutely. Would it be helpful to share the screen?
Sure.
Okay, I will ask someone to share their screen of the staff, and we can put the summary document up on the screen. But just to start off, I think it's what you're all very familiar with around the purpose of the advisory committees. And we all know that it was there, but now it's gone. It'll be back. The purpose of the advisory committee meetings and the reason that the AIB established them is really to make sure that we have feedback and input from around the state, a broad variety that is representative of the geographic, racial, ethnic, gender, and every type of diversity that we have in the state, to make sure that we're the AIB is at least aware of the issues and concerns that are being raised around the state and within various communities, and have the opportunity to address them. And right now, particularly, we're very engaged in the process to develop the comprehensive plan, and that is why we really appreciate so many members, advisory committee members, joining in the working sessions over the summer. And it shows your level of commitment already to the blueprint and the work. Under structure, you all know that we have the four pillars. Pillar 1, early childhood education. Pillar 2, Pillar 3, Pillar 2, high quality and diverse teachers and leaders. Pillar 3, college and career readiness, and Pillar 4, more resources for students to be successful. And as the chair mentioned, there's a broad representation on all of the advisory committees, and together they represent every region of the state. I think you're all aware of the terms of the advisory committee members. So in order to stagger the terms so that we didn't potentially have another brand new set of advisory committee members next year, some members have 1-year initial terms and some have 2-year terms. And then beginning next year, all of the terms will be 2 years. And everyone who is serving now will have the opportunity to stay on or reapply to stay on the advisory committee. And going forward, the student members will have continue to have 1-year terms. And then under the roles, as we've said, how critical your participation is to the process and to the blueprint successful implementation. And we also, we really do want you to share concerns that, are maybe more regional or even more local than that. And also, there may be some unique impacts or, unintended consequences of the blueprint in various communities or sectors, policy areas that we're just not aware of. And so I think that's going to be very critical in your role. Each advisory committee is going to select a chair and a vice chair. You'll be doing that when you break into your individual pillar advisory committees. And essentially the role of the chair will be to serve as the main liaison between the advisory committee and the AIB. As the chair said, as the AIB chair said, the advisory committee chair will work with AIB staff to schedule meetings, develop agendas, and manage sort of the flow of information, responding to questions and information requests. And of course, to ensure that all members have a voice and that the diverse perspectives of committee members are respected. And then the vice chair will fill all of those roles in the absence of the chair. And then if you could scroll down a little more, thank you. You know, I think it sort of goes sort of obvious. Staff is going to support the advisory committees and do all the things that I just talked about. We will also, all of the meetings will, at a minimum, be recorded and posted on the AIB's website so that they can be watched by anyone and everyone. And all the materials will also be posted. As you can see, you know, that staff member will be responsible for making sure that any follow-up is provided to the advisory committee, and also to share updates periodically with the advisory committee members on blueprint implementation and, you know, reports that are received by the AIB, things like that. Regarding the meetings, so as you can see here, I said that they will all be recorded and posted on the website. Every effort will be made to hold the meetings public in real time, so live streamed. Today, we are only able to live stream one of the meetings, so that will be pillar 2. Pillars 1, 3, and 4 the meetings will be recorded and posted on the website tomorrow, on the AIB website. Moving forward, starting in October, the AIB is going to be live streaming its own meetings and not through the Maryland General Assembly. So we're in the process of getting all of that worked out, and we'll share more information on how that's going to work soon. And then the advisory committees are being asked to meet at least quarterly. And for this next meeting, we're suggesting that it would be helpful to hold the next meeting sooner rather than later, so that the AIB has the benefit of feedback before the comprehensive plan is finalized. So sometime in early to mid-November, so you all can talk about that specific dates in your committee meetings. And then I think under attendance and participation, I think this is all probably understood, but of course attendance is important. And if you're not able to attend a meeting, let the staff or the chair know. And, you know, to echo the chair's comments earlier, the AIB is very focused on being as open, accessible, and transparent as possible, and committed to hearing from all perspectives around the state. And we would like the advisory committees to strive to do the same, to create an environment where people feel free to share their thoughts and perspectives, and participation is encouraged and respected. And in general, and it will be up to each committee to sort of determine their process for how they gather their input and share it with the board. But you know, the intent is that you share your feedback and input in a way that, you know, is something that the group feels is important to bring to the AIB's attention, at least to make them aware, if not to actually need to do something to address it. And then lastly, I'm sure that you all will be asked to speak or, you know, submit op-eds or things like that in your roles. And we would just ask that you let us know about that. And we have, we've sent you this. So there was a Google form that we use, the board members also use. So we would just ask that you do the same. And that is also to be helpful if there's something that you're going to need from the staff in order to do your presentation or your talking points or whatever. That's the way to let us know what you need. And then lastly, and this is something that the chair has said to his fellow board members as well, that in any communications in your role as an advisory committee member, you just always need to be sure that you're not speaking for your advisory committee or for the AIB, that you are representing your own views. And with that, Mr. Manco, Mr. Chair, anything to add? You're muted. Looks like, there we go.
All right. Yeah, so I think everything got covered very expertly. Thank you, Rachel, for all your guidance and wisdom. And, I think some of this has already been echoed, but, just so much appreciation to everybody for serving on these committees, giving up their time and their energy and their thinking to work to try to get this right. We are really reliant upon you as kind of our eyes and ears on what's going on across the state. As the blueprint implementation progresses, there, potentially are going to be some pain points or things that the questions that get raised. And I think, really having you all as practitioners that are in the field that can surface any questions or concerns so that we can work to try to get this right. And at the end of the day, I think it's not lost upon the group that in order for the blueprint to be successful, I think everybody needs to understand at a deep level and own what we are trying to do collectively. I think you are a large portion of that, just trying to make sure that the message gets out there about how important this is and how we all want to be rowing in the same direction. I think we need to be listening collectively to what's going on at the ground level. And we also just need to be messaging overall why this is important and what we're doing collectively to work to make this possible.
That's an excellent point. And I'll just echo, I think it's sort of a two-way street. So you all are going to bring input and feedback back to the AIB, but we also sort of see you as sort of ambassadors to your communities to share the importance of the work and of folks getting involved and participating beyond yourselves. So excellent. Anyone else want to add anything?
We have to go off now to join this portion of the meeting.
Yes, so I think what we'll do now is I'm going to ask Graham to put or someone to put the links for pillars 1, 3, and 4 in the chat. And so everyone, if you are on pillar 1, 3, or 4, you can just go ahead and click on that link and make sure that so click on the link, but then you're going to have to leave Zoom. You're going to have to leave this meeting on Zoom in order for your camera and everything to work in the Google Meet. So you might want to just copy the link actually. And then I think that's a better suggestion. Copy the link, leave this meeting, and you can go join your other meeting. And if you have any problems, you also received an email earlier today with with all the links. And yes, pillar 2, please stay where you are. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second to the motion?
A second.
Been moved and second that we adjourn. We are now all in favor of the adjournment. Indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. No opposition, so we will be formally adjourned at this point in time. Thank you.
Let's see. Graham, are you still there?
I am still here. I'm gonna have to leave this running just so that the recording continues. Since
Okay, but
yeah.
but you're gonna join the pillar one?
I am also, yes.
Okay,
Yep. So I'll be here, but I won't be participating in this meeting.
okay, okay. I think they're waiting to be let in. Okay. Mr. Bennett, I know you just were able to join us, and I believe you are pillar one. Okay, so in the chat, you will find a link to the pillar one. So we're now in the point where we're breaking into our individual pillar advisory committee meetings. So you can find the link to the Google Meet in the chat, copy that, and then you can leave this meeting and go join your Google Meet. Great.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so I think, are we down to just pillar two? And I think we are. Okay, great. So Mr. Manko, did you want to get this ball rolling?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we were just going to start by having everybody go around and do a quick round of introductions so that we know who is on the Pillar 2 advisory group. So maybe I'll just I'll call out a first name, and then afterwards, if you want to just introduce yourself, say who you are, and what your role is, and maybe what you would like, what you're interested in, or what you would like to, get out of this experience as part of the advisory group, and then pass it along to one of our co-members. So I'm going to start and toss it over to Christy, because I think I see that she's unmuted. So are you ready to go first, Christy?
I'm always ready to go.
All right.
I have an answer, but hi, everybody. It's good to see.
Hi.
I'm Christy Murphy Baldwin, Chief of Human Resources for Prince George's County Public Schools. Thank you for this opportunity to participate. And what I am hoping to get out of this is to be a collaborative thought partner in the work that at the landscape of education and teaching and learning and teacher hire practices are changing. And we're at a point where it has to change. It's not a choice. And so I'd like to be on the forefront of that work and to ensure high quality teachers for the state of Maryland and specifically Prince George's County. And I'm gonna turn it over to John because I know we probably have the same vision, hopefully.
Absolutely. I should just say ditto to what Christy said. So my name is John Silkey. I am with Montgomery County Public Schools. I serve as an instructional specialist for secondary math, but my role here stems from some of my background in teacher preparation at University of Maryland, and then doing my dissertation work around the teacher performance assessment at TPA, which is something that many of our teacher candidates will be taking. And one of my goals is to increase the opportunities for the number of teachers that are coming in, high quality teachers coming in, and considering creative pathways to fill much needed vacancies that are current and could be in the future. So to continue to think creatively and how we can do that. And I am going to pass it to Linda.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Linda Stewart. I am the Director of Professional Development Schools with Hood College in Frederick County. This is actually a new role for me. I started here January 1, and my former position was as principal at Wolfsville Elementary in Frederick County. So I'm very excited to be part of the committee for various reasons. One being just to be a learner for sure. New in the role, I feel like I have a lot to contribute in terms of my experience. And I want Hood College's program to be, first rate in the state. I believe it is, but we certainly want to kind of look at our professional development school partnerships and internship experiences. And certainly, I wish for Hood College to have a voice, in some of these parameters. So anyway, thank you for the opportunity. Really happy to be here. And I will pass this to Brian.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian King. My current role, I'm in Charles County. I am a principal at an elementary school, Title I elementary school. And I'm excited to hopefully bring some voice to Pillar 2, but then also to hear the perspectives of the other folks. Being a building-based practitioner, hopefully I can bring some of that perspective to our work together in terms of, the need for highly qualified teachers and just the impacts that it has on our students, which at the end of the day, that's the ultimate outcome. And I've also started to do some work with aspiring leaders. I'm an adjunct professor at the University of Maryland in their admin program. So also bringing that experience to the committee and that perspective as well. So looking forward to our time together. And I will pass off to Patricia.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Patricia Twitty. I'm currently an instructional lead teacher in Prince George's County. And my passion for this particular pillar is I was recruited from college down south to work in Queen Anne's County. And I stayed there for quite some time. And so that I think brings my expertise and knowledge of the transition, some things that were beneficial and some things that might needed to be adjusted. And I am currently working on my dissertation around organizational leadership, specifically looking at the role of the assistant principal. And so I think just having that lens as well will give a wealth of knowledge and hope to also receive a wealth of knowledge as we continue to make Maryland just the first match top rate state. And I will pass it over, I think, to Laura's the last one.
I'm just hovering in the background, but thank you. I am a member of the AIB board, and I was the former interim dean of the College of Education at the University of Maryland. I'm currently the department chair of human development and quantitative methodology. So a step removed a bit from teacher preparation, but I care deeply. So I am interested to hear what you all have to say. We'll try to chime in where I can from my past experience.
Yeah, so as you can see from everybody doing the introductions, it's a very diverse group in terms of, we tried as best we can to get different geographic representation across the state, and then clearly a diversity of experiences. We have folks that are working at the central office level. We have schoolhouse practitioners, people who have been previously in the schoolhouse, folks that have been involved in higher education, and really trying to tap into all the different areas that are critical and important for us to have a deep level of an understanding in order to effectively implement Pillar 2. And I think the other thing to mention is, we tried as best we can to advocate to get people who had their ear to the ground and were working day to day with either students or working with teachers. So, I think that's clearly represented on this group. And as I said before, just so grateful for all of your participation and commitment to what will be a lengthy journey, but ultimately, hopefully, a very fruitful one.
Joe, can I just add, we are missing one member, Umani Diallo. She is a student in, I think at Bowie High School in Prince George's County. And she actually works as I think she volunteers actually at a childcare center. And so she was not able to join today because she's at that, but was sorry she couldn't be here.
So yeah, I don't have the meeting notes in front of me, so I don't know if Laura or Rachel can help me a little bit.
First up is a selection of a chair and vice chair.
Yeah, so
yep.
This is we wanted to go through and select a chair or vice chair, a chair and a vice chair from this group. And it's a little challenging from the jump because we're all just getting to know each other, and but I don't know if if there's anybody who is compelled one way or another that feels like this is a role that they would be kind of interested in stepping into to help kind of serve as the liaison between the board and the advisory committee, help to work with staff to craft the agenda and send out the meeting invitations and things like that. So probably someone with a little bit of bandwidth, someone who is really interested in this and wants to step into that role.
So I'll throw my hat in the ring. I would definitely be interested in the chair role. I have a little bit of bandwidth, maybe not as much as others, but definitely have some bandwidth to help support that. And I think being able to see the multiple lenses of teacher prep, district level, things like that might be a benefit. Certainly considered an asset that I'm a pretty strong communicator, so would be communicating not only with the AIB but with the board as well. So I'll put that out there, but I'm open if other people are really interested in it.
Yeah, I'll also express an interest in either of the roles. I've got some time to commit to this, and I think that time's a dynamic that's short on all of our plates with listening to all the responsibilities that we have. But I've just recently finished my doctorate, my dissertation, so that opens up quite a window. And so I'm looking to fill it in a productive way. So either of the roles, I'd be excited to serve if that's the group's will.
I'm happy to support John and Brian. I think Linda is too.
Absolutely.
The only thing that I'd encourage us to think about just as a group, and this may neither be here nor there, but when you think about our pillar and you think about the public logging into these meetings and seeing who's chairing and vice chairing, if the title of our pillar is highly qualified, diverse teachers and leaders, there's a lot of dynamics to being highly qualified and diverse, but it might be something for us to think through and talk through to make sure that that we're reflecting that charge, if folks know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And if that means me stepping back so that we can have, food for thought. Any comments?
I don't disagree with you, Brian. I'm glad that we're having this conversation because that was the first thing that jumped into my mind.
Mhm.
So at the same time, I'm also happy to take on one of the roles too. So I don't know what that.
Did we, I mean, yeah, it crossed my mind as well. I mean, Brian, how would you feel if Christy and I were to have the roles? Would it be something that you'd be opposed to, or not Christy, but since Christy, you mentioned it, or you know, or anybody else? I mean, I think it is something that is worth considering, and optics is always very important, especially the fact that these meetings are going to be shared with the public.
I think by staying along the same lines though as Brian, when you talk about diversity, I think the only challenge with you and I is we're both central office at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, people are gonna, so I think the best match would be one central office, one school base. Nothing against Linda at all. But I think it would be nice if we had one school base and one central office. So.
And I just want to address that. I do think that there's still diversity understanding, but men are also an aspect in education that I feel contribute to the diversity within education as a whole. So while I can understand if both positions are held, but I do think there's some validity to having a conversation about men and diversifying our educational workforce to include minorities and men and, you know, a wide spectrum of diversity. And I'm happy to help wherever. I don't know if we should rock, paper, scissors,
I'm
or
gonna say, you know,
pull a number out of the hat or whatever we need to do, so that we can go ahead and select a chair and a vice chair.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like if we were in person, we could put our names in a hat and just pull it. I think our only other option, but because it's live stream, is if we did, like did one of the random things with assigning people to break out and see who comes into the breakout. But
my other thought was just to see how many people had the 1-year term and how many people had the 2-year term. And maybe the role of the chair could be someone who's a 1-year term. And then I don't know if this is how it goes, but then the 2-year term person would kind of transition into the role of chair, for the next part, kind of segued it that way.
Joe, do you have that information?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of this we're developing as we go. So I don't, that was not, that's not something that we had taken into account. So I think whatever precedent that you are interested in setting up for this Pillar 2 advisory, I think those are all things that you can set up as the groundwork.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I think what you mean is we hadn't considered that, I think it's an interesting thought to have the chair be 1 year and the vice chair have a 2-year term, and then they could transition.
Yeah.
But I can tell you what the terms are. So Christy has a 2-year term. Brian is 1 year. John is 2 years. Linda is 1 year, and Patricia is 2 years. And I can say that again, or I can share my screen if either are required.
It's okay. How are we gonna do this? We gotta come up with something good.
Ryan, if you're okay, I'm sure John and I can do it. We're both 2-year terms, so it might be helpful to have the continuity, but I also know that you were looking for some other opportunities. So I'm also okay if we go back to just you and Brian.
Yeah, Linda, I don't know. I haven't heard if you have any input on the decision, but if not, then I guess I'll pause in case you do.
No, I'm good with whoever would like to do this. I cannot volunteer myself just because I know my time constraints. I just want to be able to do it justice. And right now I feel like I'm better off just being a member of the committee. I will certainly support with anything. But I support, whoever would like to do this. I don't feel it in one way or the other, to be honest. I mean, really, it's okay with me. If you want to do the 1 year, 2.
Okay, well, if it sounds like consensus is that in raising, me raising the diversity concern when it comes to our pillar, and we want to reflect that and show that, then I'll step back and I'll let John chair and Christy vice chair.
Well, are you all both central office?
So we are, which are you? So Patricia, you're in the building, right?
Yes, I'm school-based.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on stepping into one of the roles, or?
I just taking the lead from my dear friend here, Brian, I would step into the role of a vice chair.
Okay.
Maybe next year when I finish and graduate, I will transition into the role of chair, but I will definitely support if needed in the role of vice chair until I have some free time like Brian.
So if it's okay, I think John and I can just kind of start this out, and then
Okay.
Maybe we can rethink it for the next academic year, but it
Okay.
allows John and I to lay the foundation for what's to come.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
All right, so I guess now that we have taken care of that, the next discussion item is just the discussion on pillar topics. So this would be, for pillar 2, any specific questions or clarifications, and then any priorities and focus areas for, this coming fall. And we're real lucky because we have Rachel in the room with us, who is, the expert at all things Blueprint and can help guide us through if there are specific questions on pillar 2. But, wanted to just raise that with the advisory group. If there's anything that you're either hearing from the field or upon reading the legislation or participating in the work groups and reading through the pillar graphics that really stands out to you as, questions or clarifications that are needed, this would be a good time to surface those.
I would think one part for me would be the role of National Board Teacher Certification when recruiting teachers to the state of Maryland, and even leaders for that matter, to the state, and just hearing various things regarding the status of national boards, the requirements of national boards, and how they will play in a role not only for teaching positions, but leadership positions within the state.
I would say something that has been raised definitely in the teacher teacher preparation work group is the role of the year-long internship, and particularly whether that could potentially, while trying to elevate the quality of the internship, could that be indirectly a burden on students if they need other types of opportunities for work or jobs? The idea that in other models that internship has been paid, and how that model would look in Maryland as an unpaid year-long internship.
Now, I just raised the concern certainly from the IHE perspective. just in terms of, that year-long internship and the challenges that will bring to the college, just in terms of the coursework, that our students also take. So kind of revamping the program and making sure that their internship is rich. One of the challenges we face is that, at Hood College, there are several core courses that students must take, as freshmen and moving into their sophomore year. So there's a real challenge with the 180-day, in terms of fulfilling the internship. So if we, were to tap into summers and it's not a paid internship, like those are just, many issues that do come up for us as well.
One thing that comes to mind for me, and this may be a pretty easy request for AIB staff, but in our pillar, in terms of the new teacher prep requirements, I guess I need to build a little bit more background. I mean, we all have our sources of information that we pull from, but I think that as an advisory committee, we want to be putting our eyes on the same things. So we have kind of a common source for our discussions. And so for me, just seeing, getting some information on these new requirements of teacher prep programs versus the way the programs have existed in the past, and kind of what is the gap there and what are different institutions trying to do. Because I know that as I think through our pillar, I have some pockets of expertise, but that's one in particular where I need to build up my knowledge base a little bit more. So if the AIB staff can point me to a report or websites, or point all of us so that we can have some common grounding for our conversations, I think that might be helpful.
So there is a teacher prep work group that has met a couple of times now. And Linda, I think that you've been in those, but I'm not sure.
I have been in some of them, but
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
not all.
Okay. And so they're still meeting. And so if any of you would like to join that, I can definitely share the next meeting information with you. I think it's October 5th. And part of what that group is doing is it's all of the teacher prep programs, all of the IHEs around the state are participating in it, as well as we've been including the LEA representatives as well, because after the first meeting, it became apparent that, to address the concerns and really to implement these changes that the blueprint is calling for, it's going to require the IHEs and the LEAs to work together a lot more than they have in the past. But we're in the process of actually gathering information to do exactly what you're suggesting, Brian, sort of a gap analysis, like what are they doing now? And we know where they need to get. And so what, how heavy is that lift? So that's literally the process that we're in right now. In terms of gathering information, I can share a link. It's also on the AIB website to the Pillar 2 implementation graphic that we've been using in the working sessions, which, are, at least at the moment, our best attempt at laying out all of the new requirements for, in all of Pillar 2, including, of course, the teacher prep changes. And I would just add that we're still MSDE and PSTEB, Professional Standards Teacher Education Board, are still reviewing the comments that the AIB made back in the spring on the proposed regulations to implement portions, not all of the blueprint, new blueprint requirements for teacher prep and teacher licensure, but some of them are in those regulations, including the new requirement for a full year practicum, equivalent of a full year practicum is what the law says. What the regulations say is 180 days. The AIB has suggested to use the language from the statute, which is equivalent to one full school year, and then sort of lay out what that means. But that it does not need to mean exactly 180 days. And those regulations are sort of in limbo right now. And so what that final requirement will be is not determined yet. So I just wanted to make that clear to everybody.
Yeah, that's great. That's really helpful. That's exactly the kind of stuff that I think might help us. And I don't even know, I think the teacher work group, I think I'm in that, but I haven't been able to attend because the meetings are during the school day and 600 students don't always cooperate with a 1 o'clock meeting. But even if I don't know if there are meeting notes or anything that might kind of spark and guide us if we want to.
We did, I know we recorded I don't think we recorded the first meeting because we didn't agree to do that at first, but the meetings are recorded now. And I'm gonna check, but I think they are actually on the website. We're trying to be, again, as transparent as possible and provide, let me see.
Yeah, that'd be great, because I think, if the working group is doing something that would inform a discussion that we're having or put us in check on something, it'd be a shame if we went down a road of discussion that with better information, we might have gone a different way.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to share my screen for a minute for everyone. So this is the AIB's website. It's aib.maryland.gov. And if you go to implementation plans, then you'll find the pillar graphic, the implementation graphic. And if you sort of scroll down, you'll find all the various meetings and the materials from those meetings. So here you can see the teacher prep work group. And actually, we didn't record them, but the chat transcripts are here. I'll check on the recordings. I thought we did, but I'm not seeing the links to them, so I'll check on that. But then you can also see from the working sessions, the slide deck, the chat transcript, and the latest version of the implementation pillar. So if I click here on further expanded, this is the latest version of the implementation graphic. And you can download that because it's really hard to see in this very small print. But I'm also happy to share that link with everyone in the chat.
So Rachel, I was actually taking a peek at this, and one of the things that I think about is making more explicit in kind of the career ladder, but also for new teachers, the connection between teacher preparation program and the performance assessment that you complete to induction work at the LEA level to national board certification. And, that would mean, I guess, allowing teachers that are coming into Maryland to really tangibly see those connections, especially with the focus on earning national board certification.
John, you're right on in terms of that's exactly what the blueprint is doing. It's connecting the teacher prep pre-service experience and making that a little more rigorous and more tied to what teachers really need to know and be able to do when they get into the classroom. And then to connect that with a new induction system, which is also required under the blueprint, that provides every new teacher with a mentor, that mentor is supposed to be selected from teachers who are on the career ladder. So, to tie the whole sort of circle together. And we actually were talking about this the other day and sort of thinking about how we could, so we've got like the high level, I think, in terms of what the blueprint's goals are and what we're trying to accomplish. And then we've got sort of the detail in the work we've been doing, the working sessions, but sort of to do the work in between and help people sort of see the connections both within pillars and between pillars. And so I think that's a really good point to make. And I think that fits right in with what we're trying to think about internally for the comprehensive plan. So that's not just, so that actually is educating as well as providing the plan.
Can I also add that 2.1 is to recruit and maintain? And I think sometimes we don't talk about the part of maintaining a high diverse workforce, right? So we do a lot of efforts to recruit people to districts, to classrooms and those positions, but then we don't really address the portion of maintaining. And so I think that there's, as a person who moved to Maryland from Alabama and knew nobody and knew nothing, there was a point of that also addressed a social aspect to maintaining us within the state of Maryland, because the school day is just one part of it, but recruiting people here who may not be from the area, may not know anything about the area, providing some form of an outlet or a group or a social setting where they can just meet people, get to know things, go places. So I think that's an important piece, is to also talk about the maintaining the workforce. We recruit them, but then what do we really do to maintain and also address those social emotional needs of those that we recruit to the state?
Another topic, just while we have you, Rachel, in the room, because I know you know this law probably forward and backwards, upside down. One thing in listening and participating in some meetings and my own readings, one thing that I don't hear a lot or see a lot in the blueprint is, but it's an elephant in the room to me as a school-based practitioner, when it comes to the idea of conditional teachers. How does the blueprint, because it is a reality of public schools right now, that a lot of teachers are on conditional certificates. And I love the blueprint for how it talks about teacher prep programs and people that go to school to be teachers, and then how do we want to transition them into the classroom? And that's a big chunk of recruiting and retaining. But the reality is there aren't enough teachers, and when there aren't enough teachers, there's still got to be someone in the room, and that someone usually has a conditional certificate. And I don't hear or see a lot of discussion around that. How does the blueprint view conditional teachers?
Well, I mean, as you say, it's not ideal, but it's the reality. And particularly, it was before COVID and even more so now. And so I think that is something that the blueprint did not delve into as deeply as the other pieces. But as the teacher shortage has become heightened with the pandemic, I think the need to bolster our pipelines and pathways for conditional teachers, and even for other staff that are in the school that might be interested in becoming a certified teacher but don't have the pathway, available to them while they're also working full time. I think that is some of the, shall we say, I don't know what to call it, but so the next generation of blueprint work that needs to happen to address, I mean, we're in unprecedented times, and everything that that was true before the pandemic is still true, and in most cases has gotten worse. And so I think that's another really good flag, and it's something that the AIB and MSD and the state board they've had some discussions about the need to build out pipelines and pathways in ways that the blueprint doesn't currently take into account.
I mean, I think it also, to piggyback off of that, it goes into Patricia's question around the maintenance or the retention side. And, there are things in the blueprint that, maybe not immediately, but in the long term, will hopefully allow, teachers to stay in the profession, and it will help us retain them. So that's the purpose of the additional compensation package, the national, the career ladder, the pathways for teachers to continue to stay in the classroom, but be conferred with this additional prestige, additional responsibilities, opportunities to mentor other teachers. So I think really trying to attack this from multiple angles, which are really solidifying our pipelines and our grow your own programs, but also, as Patricia was saying, working on the maintenance side and putting in things to retain our teachers so that we're not hemorrhaging as many teachers year after year, will help stem the need for more conditionally certified teachers.
Absolutely. And that's another one of those connections within the pillar that maybe aren't as apparent to everyone. So Christy, since John is, I think, still on a call.
Nope, I'm back. Sorry.
Oh, okay, great.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I didn't have any follow-up comments, Rachel.
Okay.
Questions that were asked were very similar to what I would have asked.
Right. So then I think what we were suggesting for the last few minutes here is to talk about so briefly, I'll just say, so the draft comprehensive plan and the draft criteria for success that the LEAs will be part of what the LEAs will be, their plans will be reviewed based on these criteria for success that MSDE is proposing and the AIB will need to adopt. So the drafts of those two things are going to be released in mid-October, and the AIB will be holding a public hearing on the drafts on November 10th. We're still working on the exact times for that, but it will be, there will definitely be evening. And also I think we're envisioning starting in the afternoon, late afternoon, and then taking a break, and then in the evening, so that folks who aren't able to participate during the workday can participate after the workday. And so we would like for you all to be able to share some input and feedback before the AIB finalizes the plan, which will be December 1st. So I guess one question for you all is, would you want to meet before the public hearing or after the public hearing? Again, it's going to be on November 10th, and the AIB has a meeting the following week on November 17th. So it would be a tight timeline if you wanted to wait until after the public hearing. And also what days and times are best and that kind of thing.
mean, I think it would be worthwhile. So you said the draft is going to be shared publicly on the 10th,
No, mid-October.
mid-October,
Mid-October. The
mid-October.
public hearing will be
The
on
hearing's on the 10th.
November 10th.
Okay. So I think that it would definitely be worthwhile having us meet sometime in between the two. I'm thinking, depending on when they're released, mid-October, maybe if we were to try to meet November 3rd, which is a week before the hearing, that would give us time as individuals to sort of review things, and then maybe we can come together and talk about it before the hearing on the 10th. And as far as times, I'm thinking, especially for you, Brian, that we would want to have the meetings. What's the earliest time that's good for you, Brian, as somebody who's in the classroom, that's a reasonable time?
I can, later in the afternoon is better, like this one at 3 o'clock, that's reasonable. Like in the heart of a workday, it's really tough, but towards the edge of a workday, I can say with confidence that I'll be pretty available. But I know Linda looks like, hopefully that's not your living room of cinder blocks, so you look like you're school-based as well.
Now, this is my beautiful office of cinder blocks right here. No, honestly, my schedule is Mondays and Tuesdays are just out of the question because I also teach courses. But other than that, I'm pretty flexible with time. So I typically stay here till about 6 p.m. So later in the day is fine.
If Monday and Tuesdays don't work, do we want to do either the 2nd or the 3rd? When you say, and Rachel, you may not know this, when you say mid-October, is there a sense of?
The week of the 17th,
Okay.
hopefully closer to the beginning of the week than the end.
Patricia, do these times work for you as well? Because I'm not sure what time you get out of class.
Yes, ma'am. I'm in early school, so we're good to go.
Okay. Thank you for even thinking about that. Patricia, I totally forgot that you were still in the classroom. So my recommendation would be if they were to come the week of the 17th, then maybe we can individually have a week to sort of process everything. So take the week of the 24th for us to individually bring together notes or comments. One of the things that I will try and do with Christy is create some type of document, a Google Doc or something, so we can start collecting our common thoughts. And then if we were to meet the 2nd or the 3rd, then we could have more robust conversations, and that would give us time to review any sort of document that we would be pulling together. So week of the 17th, it comes out. The week of the 24th, we spend time putting together our thoughts into a document. Week of Halloween, so the 2nd or the 3rd of November, come together for a meeting to discuss the findings. What do people think?
I will just note there's a meeting, Christy, I don't know if you're planning to attend, but I'm speaking, I don't need to be here, but there is a meeting the 2nd and the 3rd in Ocean City. I don't know if you have that on your calendar.
Yeah, I wasn't going to attend that.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Good.
I think that, I mean, if that works for the group, we can get that work at least started.
Chris, what do you think of that? I get hesitant, and I just know, even though we all are going to make a commitment to this, I get hesitant of getting something and then immediately being forced to look at it because we just don't know what happens in life. But at least if we have a space to put down our thoughts, then that gives everybody a little bit more time. Do Wednesdays work, or do we prefer Thursdays?
Wednesdays work for me. Thursdays can be a challenge because those are identified board dates. For most
Got it.
systems.
So how about we do, I don't even know how long meetings are supposed to be, Rachel. Is it like 3 to 4:30 for on November 2nd? And if we,
Sorry, I'm coughing here. However long you think you need. I would, if you wouldn't mind, I would like to check with Umani to see.
yes, yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's right. And if she, absolutely. And if she is, if you wouldn't mind checking with her, if the volunteer commitment that she has is the type of thing that's every Wednesday, then maybe we can, why don't we put a hold on our calendar for either the Wednesday or the Thursday, 3 to 4:30. And then if you can check with her and see if either knowing far enough in advance, she can move it, or if not, then we can try to accommodate for the Thursday.
No problem.
What else? So we've got a next meeting on the calendar, potentially. We've got a game plan for looking at and reviewing the plan, us providing feedback on it, us coming together as a meeting.
I would also recommend, while the draft plan is going to be coming out in mid-October, at least the skeleton of it is already in existence in those pillar implementation graphics. So if I know everybody's familiar with them, but it would be worth it probably for everybody on the advisory committee for Pillar 2 to just do like a deep look over the next couple of weeks on the implementation graphic to see if there's any kind of glaring concerns or questions that would be good to surface, and then you can pass it along to either myself or to Rachel or to Emma in the meantime, because I think that will help to inform what gets produced in mid-October. Now, I think hopefully we've done a good job during these working group sessions, and a lot of that has already been sussed out. But if there's anything else that we've missed upon your close read, it would be really great if you could go through and I think it will help. It'll be a good exercise to familiarize yourself with all of the elements of Pillar 2 as well.
Joe, one thing again, I'm just looking at it. I was looking at the timeline you mentioned, and the 2.11 implement a statewide marketing campaign. 2.11A has an arrow going from FY22 all the way across, but then I noticed all the others, 2.11B to 2.11I, don't have any arrows. They're sort of, what is that?
Yeah.
Tell me the difference between the two.
So those are tasks. Those are tasks that MSDE is required to implement, and we were seeking their input on what the timeline they were anticipating.
Okay.
So that's why they're blank, but they will definitely be filled in.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I just ask one more question before we adjourn? I see in the blueprint, there's a lot talking about compensation for various things and base salaries and all of those things, but maybe I'm wrong, so correct me. Does it ever address workplace dynamics and workplace conditions? Because I think sometimes as an educator, people think if you just give us money, we'll do it. Give them more money, pay them more money, pay them more money. But there's a dynamic there to your workplace environment, that sometimes the amount of money is nowhere, it doesn't matter when you talk about the dynamics of the workplace. And especially with, research on the millennials and their desire for that balance and those type of things. I just don't know if that is ever addressed in the blueprint. I see a lot of monetary things, but there's a whole nother component to the teacher shortage that I don't think money cannot address.
Absolutely. And that was definitely part of the commission's work and within the blueprint, that compensation matters, but actually for a lot of teachers, working conditions matter more.
Oh, yeah.
And so that is why the blueprint includes things like more collaborative time, more non-instructional time during the workday for teachers, embedded professional development that supports your daily ongoing work, better access to more resources in terms of the training and supports that you need. Trying to kind of run through some of the working condition items that are being addressed. Part of it, like with the community schools, and the behavioral health supports for students in schools and school-based health center, like just try to bring some other supports in so that teachers can focus on teaching and your job. So that was definitely part of the blueprint and the discussion among the commission. It was actually a huge issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I would also say, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, Rachel, but I think while the blueprint seeks to be a very comprehensive piece of education legislation, I think there are definitely things that it's still left to the LEAs in order to establish, their kind of norms and protocols amongst their schools. I think what I hear you speaking about, Patricia, is like, I think a lot about the irreplaceable study that TNTP did, several years ago, where, for some of these outstanding teachers that were leaving, it just took principals going to their teachers and saying, like, I need you to stay, like it's really important, and thank you for your work. And I think those are things that, unfortunately, like the relational side of this, the thank yous, the listening to your teachers, are unfortunately things that don't fit nicely into kind of a legislative framework, but are critically important to ensuring that we retain teachers. So I think this is some of I think some of the space where we need to kind of lean into, that is kind of left unmentioned in the blueprint, even though it's critically important, and just something we need to continue to emphasize with the LEAs and with the schools themselves to really put these at the forefront, even though they're not, explicitly spoken in the legislation.
So I have a quick question and a suggestion for the group. My question is, after we close out the meeting today, Rachel, who's kind of our point of contact on your staff if we have questions or are looking for quick answers, or can you point me in the direction of something? And then my suggestion is, might we want to think of a group, a way to stay connected in between meetings? But I'll leave that suggestion open for discussion.
So in terms of any follow-up or questions or things like that, Rachel Amstutz, who is the person who's been primarily emailing you and making you aware of things, is a great first stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then she'll either get you the information or ask me. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great idea.
So Brian, if you would just allow John and I an opportunity to connect and then work together to set up something where perhaps we can pull Imani, Linda, Patricia, yourself, and myself and John together so that we have something that's a little bit outside of this so we can give each other our contact information and, you know, talk about anything else we might need to move forward. That probably is the best way to
Yep.
sure that we
That does remind me, we were, if you, I think that we've got your email address and we've got phone numbers and things like that, but if you want to sort of make sure that we have the best email and phone number that you want us to use to contact you, we were also going to share that with amongst all of you, so you would all have each other's contact info. So if you could just, maybe just it's worth just sending an email. You can just send it to AIB@maryland.gov or to Rachel Amstutz and just confirm what your preferred phone and email is, and then we'll make sure you all have that.
Yeah, well, as Christy said, she and I would definitely connect, and we'll make sure that we'll reach out to Rachel A to, and give it in the next few days. So say by next Monday at the latest that we'll collect all the information. So definitely this group can plan on hearing from Christy and I by then to make sure that we have a constant communication happening. Anything else for the good of the group? Joe or Rachel, was there anything else that our group needed to try and accomplish by today?
Nope, that's everything.
Yeah, so grateful for all of you, and thank you in advance for all of your work and dedication on this really important piece of work.
All right. Anybody want to motion to adjourn our session? All right. Thank you, Christy. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Patricia. All in favor to adjourn our Pillar 2 committee meeting? Say aye.
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 All right. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for your important work. It's awesome meeting you. I know that even though Christy and I have roles as chair and vice chair, that we are going to need all of your support. So thank you in advance for that. And look forward to connecting in the near future. Have a great evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.